good, y'all? A lot has happened since the last time I saw you guys. I know it hasn't been too long, but of course, as you guys all know, the NBA season has kicked off. I did also change up the background. I figured new season, new background. So I have a bunch of different teams that I added. They're all represented here. Even got a WNBA team. Shout out to Liberty. But yeah, changed up the background a little bit. Hopefully it spices up the video. But back to the NBA season starting. It has been an amazing first 2 days of the season. I am recording this video before Wednesday's games. You guys will probably see it after Wednesday's games. But regardless, the first 2 days have been elite. Obviously you can't figure out anything concrete off of one game of play, especially game one of the season. So that's why I'm saying we're overreacting. But in reality, I really just want to bounce around and talk about some of the teams that have really stood out to me. And we might as well just get right into it and start talking about the games. The team that I want to start by talking about is the Philadelphia 76ers. They had a real nail-biting win over the Boston Celtics to start off their season. And going into the game, if I had to assume what the headlines would be, is Joel Embiid makes his return. That's what I would think the storyline of this game would be. I know he ended up playing that one preseason game, but this has been the first time we've seen Joel Embiid play regular season basketball since last season, where he only played 19 games. So it's been a while. I thought that he would be the main focus of this game, but Tyrese Maxey and VJ Edgecombe stole the show because those two guys looked absolutely incredible. And before I talk about those two guards that stole the show, real quick, I do want to just highlight a little bit on Joel Embiid. I watched that preseason game. I watched this game. I don't think Joel Embiid should be on the court right now. That's no disrespect to him. I wish that he is healthy enough to play. I just don't think that, watching him optically, he does not look good. He does not look like Joel Embiid. You could tell that knee is really bothering him. He's not moving the same. He's not moving with the same aggression. Defensively, he's almost a non-factor. It pains me to see him like this, and I really just hope that he does what he needs to be 100% healthy. And in my opinion, that's not playing basketball right now. And obviously, if you're a 76ers fan, that's not something you want to hear. You want Joel Embiid healthy, and I want that as well. But to soften the blow a little bit, you were able to watch this masterclass between Tyrese Maxey and VJ Edgecombe. A few days ago, I was on the Baloney Basketball podcast, and we were talking about VJ Edgecombe and Tyrese Maxey. And I described them using football terms. If you're a football fan, you'll understand what I'm saying. But I said that they are kind of like a thunder and lightning backcourt. Usually in football terms, when a team has two running backs, they have a bruiser who's the thunder, he'll run through you. Then you have the lightning who's the fast, speedy guy, a change of pace. I feel like that perfectly describes the play style of Tyrese Maxey, who's the lightning, and then VJ Edgecombe, who's the thunder. Obviously, Tyrese Maxey is the quicker of the two. He'll dance around the perimeter a little bit more with his ball handling, hit the three-point shot off the dribble, but also has that super quick speed and that first step to just get right around you, get to the rim with his quickness. And then, of course, you have VJ Edgecombe, who's the bigger guy, more muscular. He'll use your body, put his shoulder into you, dunk on you, be a little bit more physical when going to the rim. And I really love what I'm seeing from these two. I feel like they could be the duo, the future star duo of the Sixers. And VJ Edgecombe looked absolutely incredible in his first game. He ended up with 34 points, which I believe is tied for third most in a debut all time. Of course, he was getting to the rim, and I think that that's going to be a real consistent thing early in his career. But he was also knocking down the three ball, specifically the catch and shoot three. If he's able to do that, I mean, his ceiling is even higher. And I started this talk about the Sixers talking about Joel Embiid, and I want to be clear here. I hope that he comes back 100% healthy at the MVP level he once was. I really wish that is what happened. But I think we're getting to the point where there is a real unfortunate reality where he doesn't, and he doesn't get fully healthy again, and we may have seen the best Joel Embiid that we will ever see again. If that is the case, Sixers fans, you should be very happy that you have this kind of youth movement coming at this time with Tyrese, with VJ at the helm. But even when you look at the team the lineup that they closed this game out with, it was VJ, it was Maxey, it was Quentin Grimes, who still is very young, it was Dominic Barlow, and it was Jabari Walker finishing this game out against the Celtics in a clutch time win. That should be saying something. That should be a breath of fresh air almost, that you are not 100% fully committed to the Joel Embiid timeline. you still have this next wave of talent on your roster, which a lot of teams cannot say. All around, it was a super impressive victory for the Sixers. VJ Edgecombe, again, was way more than what I was expecting in his debut. Absolutely incredible game. He almost sold it, missing those 2 free throws down the stretch. The Celtics weren't able to capitalize, though. They ended up getting the victory. Real great victory for the Sixers in Game 1. Alright, I was kind of burying the lead. Of course, you guys know I'm going to talk about my New York Knicks. They had a really, I don't want to say dominant win against the Cavaliers in Game 1, but they led for almost the entire game. There were some back and forth runs where the Cavs then brought it really close, and then the Knicks would extend their lead back to double digits. Overall, though, a really impressive win for the Knicks now under Mike Brown. The most obvious thing, the thing that jumps off the page that I'm sure a lot of you guys have already noticed, was the fact that the Knicks ran an 11-man rotation by the second quarter. The second quarter just started. The Knicks already played 11 guys. I have been through full 48 minutes, not even 48, full like 50-plus minute games where we've ran 8-man rotations. Shout out to Tom Thibodeau. I love everything that you have done for this Knicks team and the city of New York. Thank you. But also, wow, was this a breath of fresh air. And I think the thing that makes it so sweet to see was not just the fact that we ran an 11-man rotation, but the depth looked good. More specifically, Tyler Kolek, who was buried on the Knicks bench, he played incredibly well. He only had, I think it was 7 points and like 2 assists, maybe 3 assists, but the ball movement was there. He didn't really turn the ball over. He was surprisingly competitive defensively. All around, he looked like a real point guard in the NBA. I can't say that he looked like that last year. Now, albeit he never really had the full opportunity to showcase that, but the fact that he was able to get real minutes in Game 1 and looked good really makes me excited to see what the rest of the year looks like. Also, Landry Shamet, he was kind of buried on the Knicks bench. He only played less than 10 minutes a game most of the time. When he actually did get in there, he had a few big shots. He competed defensively. I just think that it's going to be super important for the Knicks to use their depth so they're not just really burnt out at the end of the year. I know Josh Hart spoke on it himself, where he felt like by the time he got to the Indiana series, he had nothing left in the tank. That's from a guy that gives you 110% every time he's on the court. And like I said, throughout the game, it was a game of runs, but the Knicks had the lead for majority of it. I think they looked really solid on both sides of the ball, especially being under this new scheme of Mike Brown. The offense, the ball was moving really well. There was a lot of open threes that were generated off the ball, a lot of just catch and shoot opportunities for guys like Deuce McBride or OG, Mikal Bridges. Jalen Brunson even got some catch and shoot open threes. So I really do like that aspect of it. I would also say that I was pleasantly surprised by the defense. I know Donovan Mitchell absolutely torched the Knicks, especially in that third quarter. He went nuclear. But the fact that they gave him a bunch of different defenders to look at, I enjoyed that. Sometimes it was OG, sometimes it was Mikal Bridges, sometimes it was Deuce McBride. I want to say Landry Shamet even guarded him for a little bit. So I like the fact that Mike Brown was just throwing different looks at him to just try to make him think. In that third quarter, again, he did not think whatsoever. All he thought was, basket's right there. Bottoms. But regardless, I do like the fact that they made it a little bit more difficult for him. The defense was switching way more. A lot of times, Tom Thibodeau, he would just run drop coverage, and that is it. But Mike Brown has shown that he is willing to switch, even if it's a mismatch that you would think. Like, there was some times where Cat would get pulled into the action. He held his own. Sometimes they score, sometimes they don't. It is what it is. I just like the fact that we're not going to see Mikal Bridges get stuck on a screen and then just, the big being on a 2-on-1 basically every single time. That's what it felt like, at least. Now we have a little bit more switchability throughout the defense, and I really do think that that's going to bode well for the rest of the year. Throwing it back to the opening game of the NBA, I do want to quickly talk about the Houston Rockets. They had an absolute thriller with OKC going to double overtime. Amazing game to kick it off. Shout out to OKC getting their rings too. The ring looks amazing. The banner looks amazing. All around, that first day of the NBA was perfect. Shout out to NBC. But I would say the main story of that game, for the Rockets specifically, was obviously Alperen Sengun. That man was hooping his ass off. And obviously he had the 5 threes that he made. I don't know how often that's going to happen. 5 threes in a game is kind of crazy. But I am interested to see how real this shooting leap will be. Will he be like a 37% shooter on like 5 attempts a game? Or will it be the normal like 20-ish% on like 2 attempts a game? I'm not really sure. Hopefully it's closer to that other side because this Rockets team really struggles with 3-point shooting, and then that would just make Şengün personally that much harder to guard. But he had an incredible game scoring the ball inside the arc, outside the arc. He had 7 assists too. Some of them were some real good passes. The double big lineup, I believe it was a pass to Clint Capella he had that was real nice, just dumped down, easy dunk for him. I think that he, especially with the lack of real point guard play, Alperen Şengün will be their main playmaker for the majority of the season, I would think. You know, Amen Thompson, shout out to him. He could definitely be a ball handler and a playmaker. But I think if the Rockets want to have the most efficient offense they can, Alperen Şengün has to have the ball a big majority of the time, either him or Kevin Durant, obviously. And I'll just come out and say it, like, you could really see that they did not have a point guard at times. There were some real bad turnovers that they had. And again, it's the first game of the season, so, you know, especially when you add in some player like Kevin Durant, who's such a big focal point of your offense, there's going to be just a lack of chemistry there, and I'm sure that will build as the season goes on. But there were just some times where guys looked lost. Tari Eason, him specifically, he had some real questionable turnovers, I would say. But not just him. Amen had them. Şengün had them. KD had them. Everyone did, and that definitely, I think, comes from the lack of point guard play. I don't think that's the end of the world, though, because their defense still looked amazing. Their rebounding was amazing, both defensively to close out those possessions and then offensively to get those extra looks on their misses. I think that really is what their team is built around. And then as long as every once in a while you can kick the ball to KD or Şengün to bail out an offensive possession, I think they'll be more than fine. And then the last team I want to talk about is the San Antonio Spurs. Oh my God, Victor Wembanyama, I don't even know what to say anymore. As you guys know, I am a Knicks fan. I mentioned it earlier in this video. If we don't win a ring like now or next year, I don't think we ever will. I think that Victor Wembanyama is coming for the league. And once he reaches that peak of his power, I legitimately don't know what anyone's going to do to stop him. Watching that game, it was just a spiritual experience, I feel like I could say. The back-to-back plays of where he gets that pump fake on PJ Washington, goes baseline, reverse dunk like that and one. And then I believe it was the next offensive possession where he hits AD with, dribble this way, gets cut off, dribble back this way, dribble this way, pump fake, get him to jump, bucket, and one from the mid-range. Then he had that crazy block on Derek Lively, came back down the court, saw, step back 3 and 1. Like, I legitimately do not know what the league is going to do about Victor Wembanyama. It's not just the highlight plays, though. Like, obviously, that's what makes him such a insane player to watch. But it's just the fluidity that he's moving now, the strength that he has added. He's not getting bumped off his spots anymore. His handle looks a little bit tighter. That work with Hakeem in the post you can definitely see because he's got those turns, those shimmies, those step throughs. He has all of it right now, it seems like. And then also, big shout out to Stephon Castle. He had a real good game. I really enjoy how aggressive downhill he was getting. He literally, whether it was to actually get a dunk or a layup or to get to the free throw line, he was just at the rim. In transition, he had a few just breakaway buckets as well. One of the better transition players in the league. And then also his playmaking I thought was pretty cool. He had a few lobs. Some of them were pretty deep lobs too. Area 51 looks incredible. I can't wait for De'Aaron Fox to get there. Dylan Harper had a pretty solid game off their bench too. This Spurs team is looking pretty dangerous already. And those were the main teams that I really wanted to talk about. Before I finish the video, there are some other players that I wanted to just give some quick shout outs to. Davion Mitchell of the Miami Heat, he had a real good game. I believe it was 16 points, 12 assists, and only 1 turnover. And the Heat almost pulled off that. I would say it was an upset over the Orlando Magic, but Orlando came back and ended up winning that one. With Tyler Hero missing some time to start the year, Davion Mitchell has the opportunity to really solidify himself in this starting lineup. And he's off to a pretty good start. Matas Buzelis also had a pretty good game, 21 points and the upset victory over the Detroit Pistons. I just love how Matas was able to get almost all of his buckets off the ball. It wasn't like he was dribble trying to get to the rim and everything, which he can still do, but a lot of them were just off ball cuts, slot cuts, cut from the corner for a lob he had, catch and shoot three, just simple buckets for Modest. And I think that once he secures that aspect of it, then he can add the dribble drive to it, the off the dribble threes to it, and be more of a self-creator. But right now, he's showing incredible things off the ball, so shout out to him. And then last but not least, big shout out to Chet Holmgren, who had an absolutely incredible game in OKC's opener for the season in their ring ceremony. That first quarter, he was absolutely elite. That shot making that we were seeing from a 7-footer, a 1 of 1, I would say, if Wemby did not exist, so maybe 1 of 2. But he looked incredible, and then it went all the way on to overtime before he fouled out. But all around, just incredible game for Chet. I'm really excited to see him hopefully healthy throughout this entire season, because the two-way ability that he has with his defense that he's already shown us, and the potential that his offense has shown us, I cannot wait. Obviously, I can't watch every minute of every game, so let me know in the comments below what I missed out on, what I should definitely check out. What was your favorite part or favorite team, favorite player, whatever it was? What was your favorite part of the opening night for the NBA? Hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you did, make sure to leave it a like, subscribe so you don't miss the next one. In the description, there's links to all my social medias, so make sure you follow me on all those to keep up to date with me. Catch y'all.